Today, I want to tell you a very special story of mine. It might make you rethink something very familiar. If you see yourself in the story, please let me know. I once held the conviction that my life was flawless. My life was a tapestry woven with all that a man could desire. A beautiful, loving wife by my side, a steady career that fulfilled me, and a home that radiated warmth and comfort. Lily, my wife, has been the steadfast anchor in the tumultuous seas of life, guiding me through both the peaks and valleys. Her laughter, tender and sincere, had the power to dissolve the burdens of even the most arduous days. As we stood before each other a decade ago, exchanging our vows, my heart was unwavering in its promise of fidelity to her. She was my closest companion, my confidant, my entire world. Yet, I discovered that perfection is delicate, a fragile facade that may shatter beneath the burden of desire. My name is Olivia, and I stand before you to recount the tale of how I allowed everything to slip away from my grasp. It commenced on a brisk Monday morning in the early days of November. A morning where the air nips at your skin, yet the sunlight offers a gentle warmth that propels you forward. I pressed my lips to Lily's cheek in farewell as she offered me a thermos filled with coffee and a sandwich for my midday meal. She looked up at me, her emerald eyes gleaming with a sense of pride. "You've got this," she said, her hand resting gently on my chest. "Stand your ground against those board members." Her unwavering belief in me enveloped me like a protective armor as I set out for the day ahead. For years, my position at a mid-sized tech firm had provided a sense of stability, but lately the company found itself poised on the brink of significant expansion. I had been toiling through the late hours, immersed in spreadsheets and proposals, readying myself for a pivotal presentation. This opportunity was paramount, a moment to solidify my standing and demonstrate to myself that I could bear the burden of responsibility. It was at that moment that Avery made her entrance. Avery served as my secretary, a vibrant young woman in her late 20s, possessing a keen intellect and an even wittier sense of humor. She had joined the company 6 months prior and had settled into a comfortable rhythm at work. She possessed an uncanny efficiency, a sharp wit, and an intuitive grasp of my needs, often anticipating them before I could voice a single word. There had always been a certain innocence between us, a camaraderie that transformed long hours into something more manageable. Yet, as the tension escalated in the weeks preceding the business trip, the nature of our exchanges started to change. In the quiet hours of the night, strategy sessions morphed into a tapestry of shared laughter and fleeting glances. I reassured myself that it posed no threat. Ultimately, I was a man bound by marriage, and Avery was well aware of that fact. The journey to Chicago was meant to be uncomplicated. In the span of 2 days, there were 3 meetings culminating in a final pitch to a gathering of prospective investors. Avery would manage the logistics, allowing me to concentrate on delivering the most significant presentation of my career. On the morning of our departure, I bid farewell to Lily with a kiss, yet an unfamiliar sensation lingered in the air. Her embrace held on, and she allowed her head to rest against my chest for a moment that felt longer than the ordinary. "Call me when you land," she murmured gently. "I shall, as I vowed." The journey to Chicago unfolded without incident, yet I found it impossible to overlook how Avery's presence enveloped the space beside me. She wore a navy blazer and skirt with precision, her blonde hair elegantly gathered into a sleek ponytail. As she leaned in to present the revised itinerary on her tablet, a fleeting waft of her light, floral perfume unexpectedly enveloped me. "Are you all right, Olivia?" she inquired, her azure gaze scrutinizing me with a hint of worry. "Indeed," I said, mustering a smile despite the weariness that lingered within me. In all honesty, there was an inexplicable pull that captivated me. A fragment of my being urged me to brush it off as mere stress or fatigue. Yet within the depths of my soul, I recognized the truth. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the city, Avery proposed we indulge in a meal at a nearby steakhouse after a day filled with back-to-back meetings. "You need a break," she said, a grin spreading across her face. "Moreover, it's at the expense of the company." After a moment of uncertainty, I found myself conceding. What damage could an ordinary dinner inflict? The restaurant exuded a soft glow, its leather booths invitingly nestled in shadows, while the subtle strains of jazz floated through the air. As we sipped our red wine, our conversation meandered through a tapestry of topics, deftly avoiding the realm of work. Avery shared with me her aspirations of launching her own business someday, her cherished books, and the quaint town of her upbringing. As I spoke, tales long buried in the recesses of my mind resurfaced, recollections of my college days, whimsical escapades from childhood, and the serendipitous moment when I first crossed paths with Lily. Discussing my wife ought to have anchored me, yet it served instead as a poignant reminder of the boundary I was perilously approaching. As Avery's laughter danced through the air in response to one of my jokes, her hand fleetingly grazed mine, and I found myself lingering in that moment, unwilling to retreat. Following dinner, we strolled back to the hotel in quietude, the city lights creating elongated shadows upon the pavement. My thoughts swirled in a tempest of feelings, guilt, curiosity, and a longing that had lain dormant for years. I resolved to head directly to my room, reach out to Lily, and leave this chaos in the past. As we approached the elevators, Avery cast a glance in my direction. "I appreciate tonight," she murmured gently. "It's been ages since I've laughed like that." Her words carried a sense of purity, yet the gaze she directed at me was anything but. I nodded, my voice lost in the silence. As the elevator doors slid apart, we entered side by side. The ascent to our floor unfolded in silence, the tension palpable, wrapping around us like a heavy shroud. I reassured myself that this was the moment to step back, to conclude the night without overstepping any boundaries. Yet, as the doors swung open once more and Avery lingered in the hallway, a sudden shift occurred within me. "Are you all right?" I inquired, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. She nodded, yet her eyes whispered a tale of their own. "Good night, Olivia," she murmured, pausing for a heartbeat before she turned toward her room. I stood there, unable to move as I watched her retreat into the distance. Every logical fiber of my being urged me to retreat to my room, to reach out to Lily and listen to her voice, yet I remained still. And then, propelled by an inexplicable urge, I stepped forward. The corridor lay in stillness, interrupted only by the gentle murmur of the hotel's air conditioning. Avery's door loomed halfway down the hall, and I found myself rooted to the spot, my heart racing wildly within my chest. Every fiber of my being urged me to turn back, to seek refuge in the familiar comfort of my room, yet my legs defied me. With determination, I advanced another step. It was as if I were observing a different person, as though I had transformed into a stranger within my own flesh. As Avery fumbled with her keys to unlock the door, her gaze caught mine as I drew nearer. She pivoted, her face a mask of inscrutability. In that fleeting moment, silence enveloped us both. The silence lingered, thick and oppressive, until she at last shattered it. "Olivia," she murmured, her voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "What occupies your time at this moment?" I parted my lips to speak, yet the words eluded me. Uncertainty enveloped me, leaving me questioning my actions and their purpose. All I knew was that I stood there, my pulse racing, the air between us charged with unvoiced tension. She inclined her head ever so slightly, her fingers lingering on the door handle. "Would you care to step inside?" That seemingly straightforward question became my last lifeline, the moment from which there was no turning back. I might have chosen to refuse, to turn my back and preserve the life I had crafted alongside Lily. Yet I simply nodded. Avery moved aside, granting me entry into her room. The room mirrored my own, adorned in neutral hues, with crisp white sheets neatly arranged and a desk strewn with papers alongside her laptop. The curtains hung tightly, enveloping us in a cocoon away from the shimmering city lights beyond. With the soft click of the door sealing my departure, a surge of panic washed over me. What is it that I am engaged in? What am I on the verge of destroying? Avery perched on the edge of the bed, her gaze fixed on me with a fervor that left my throat parched. "You don't have to stay," she said, her voice a gentle yet unwavering whisper. Yet I remained. I settled beside her, near enough to sense the warmth emanating from her form. In that fleeting instant, we remained utterly still. The atmosphere was heavy with expectation, each moment elongating into infinity. "It has been an arduous day," I confessed, my voice trembling slightly. Avery offered a subtle smile. "Indeed it has." In that moment, it felt as though an unseen wall crumbled away, and she extended her hand, resting it gently on mine. Her touch was soft, tentative, yet it coursed through me like electricity. I remained steadfast. "This is wrong," I murmured, yet my actions whispered a different truth. "I understand," she responded. However, she left the sentence hanging, and there was no need for her to complete it. The silent truth lingered in the air, weighty and inescapable. I cannot recall who made the initial move, whether I inclined toward her or she toward me, but suddenly her lips found theirs against mine. The kiss began with a hint of hesitation as though we were both gauging the depths of our emotions, yet it soon blossomed into something more profound. My hands settled on her waist while hers wove through my hair. It was as if I had stepped outside of myself, observing my own existence from afar. The fragment of my soul that adored Lily, that treasured the existence we had woven together, cried out for me to halt. Yet the other side, the self-centered and impulsive side, overshadowed it completely. The evening unfolded in a haze of fleeting instances and hushed revelations. It would be easy to claim it was merely a mistake, to suggest it held no significance, but such a statement would be nothing but a falsehood. During those fleeting hours, I allowed myself to entertain the notion of breaking free from the burdens of my obligations, the relentless pressures of existence, and the vows I had taken. As the night drew to a close, Avery nestled beside me, her breath a gentle rhythm of tranquility. I lay awake, my gaze fixed on the ceiling, the weight of my actions pressing heavily upon me. What sort of man turns his back on the woman who loves him without reservation? I eased myself out of bed with utmost caution, making every effort to avoid disturbing her slumber. The garments lay strewn about the room, a disordered testament to my misstep. As I donned my attire, the guilt crept in, piercing and relentless. As I prepared to depart, I cast a final look at Avery, her expression tranquil in slumber. The journey back to my room resembled a procession toward my own demise. Each footfall resonated with the burden of my remorse. Upon entering my room, I collapsed onto the bed, my face finding refuge in my hands. Lily came to mind, her radiant smile, her infectious laughter, and the unwavering belief she always had in me. How can I possibly confront her after everything that has happened? The following morning, Avery and I convened in the lobby, our demeanor unaltered by the events of the previous day. She welcomed me with a courteous smile, her gaze revealing none of the closeness we had experienced the previous night. "Are you prepared for the momentous occasion?" she inquired, extending a coffee cup toward me. I acquiesced, even as a tumult brewed within my stomach. "Indeed, let us embark on this journey." The meetings unfolded seamlessly, and the investors appeared genuinely impressed with our presentation. At first glance, all appeared to be well. Yet, hidden beneath the facade of professionalism, my thoughts swirled in a tempest of guilt and regret. Whenever Avery's gaze met mine or her skin grazed against me by chance, a sense of deceit washed over me. As the day drew to a close, I found solace in my room, yearning to reach out to Lily. I craved the sound of her voice, a haunting echo of the life I had put at risk. "Hello, darling," she replied after the second ring. "How are you doing?" Her voice enveloped me in warmth, a comforting presence I felt unworthy of. Well, I must confess I was not truthful. The meetings unfolded smoothly. "There's a real chance we could make this happen." "I'm so proud of you," she said, her voice brimming with heartfelt warmth. "I eagerly anticipate our meeting tomorrow." I echoed the sentiment, yet the words seemed to lack substance. As the call ended, I found myself gazing at my phone, a tightness gripping my chest. I had deceived her in the most unforgivable manner, and she remained blissfully unaware. That night, slumber eluded me. The atmosphere was stifling, as if the very walls were inching closer, encasing me in their grip. Every moment with Avery echoed in my mind, each choice meticulously tracing the path that brought me here. Memories of Lily flooded my mind, the life we had woven together, nights filled with laughter over shared meals, lazy Sundays sprawled on the couch, and the promises that had bound us. I had always perceived myself as a decent man, a person upon whom others could rely. Yet, at this moment, uncertainty crept in. In reality, I found myself at a loss, grappling with the weight of my actions. The return to the familiar embrace of home seemed to mock me with its irony. I had anticipated that as soon as I crossed the threshold, life would revert to its usual rhythm. How I longed for the warmth of Lily's embrace to cleanse the stain I had etched upon my soul. Yet it did not. I entered our home as though it belonged to someone else. The aroma of dinner drifted down the hallway, a tantalizing blend of roast chicken and creamy mashed potatoes, the hallmark of Lily's comforting culinary repertoire. What was meant to anchor me instead constricted my chest, leaving me breathless. How could I meet her gaze after everything that had transpired? How could I maintain the facade of normalcy while, deep within, I was unraveling? "Lily?" I made the call, my voice revealing none of the chaos swirling within me. "I find myself in the kitchen." She returned the call, her voice as buoyant as always. I placed my suitcase by the door and made my way into the kitchen, where Lily was softly humming, her spoon gliding through the pot on the stove. Her hair was gathered in a haphazard bun, and she donned the well-worn jeans and t-shirt that had become her culinary uniform. She gazed up at me, her smile a comforting presence, her eyes radiating warmth and affection. "You're home early," she remarked, approaching me with open arms for a warm embrace. I embraced her in return, lingering in the moment a touch longer than customary, striving to recall the essence of the man she believed me to be. "I missed you," I murmured, the words echoing emptily as they slipped from my lips. She smiled, drawing back to meet my gaze. "Your absence was felt by me as well. What was the experience of the journey like?" I parted my lips to utter a sound, yet for an instant the words lodged themselves in my throat. The weight of guilt pressed down on me, suffocating my every breath. Excellent. Occupied. Yet, I found a way to be productive, mustering a smile despite the circumstances. Lily appeared oblivious to the strain that laced my words. She had unwavering faith in my potential, and it pained me deeply to realize I was shattering that trust in such a significant manner. "Dinner is nearly prepared," she remarked. "It would be wise to freshen up. The day has stretched on endlessly." I nodded absent-mindedly, shifting my gaze toward the stairs as I made my way to the bathroom. As I approached, I endeavored to calm my pounding heart. The shower seemed incapable of offering any true cleansing, a futile endeavor. No matter how vigorously I scrubbed, the mark of my actions would linger on. The warm water cascaded over me, and my thoughts wandered back to that unforgettable night with Avery. The gaze shed cast upon me, the moment we'd traversed a boundary that could never be erased. I yearned to erase it, to banish it from my thoughts, yet the weight of guilt ensnared me. Upon completion, I found myself before the mirror, gazing intently at my own reflection. The figure reflected in the glass appeared foreign, a soul who had relinquished all that once held meaning. His eyes were devoid of life, a hollow shell, and despite my attempts to rationalize it as a mere error, I couldn't dispel the unsettling sensation that I had transformed into a stranger. Downstairs, Lily had arranged the table with care. The gentle illumination of the chandelier overhead enveloped the room in a warm embrace, rendering every detail exquisite, teetering on the edge of perfection. I settled into my chair, the burden of the deception weighing down on my heart. "How is your work going?" she inquired, generously loading my plate with sustenance. Engrossed, I murmured, hastily shoving food into my mouth, oblivious to its flavor. She observed. "You seem quiet tonight," she remarked, her voice laced with worry. "Is there an issue?" "No," I deceived once more, managing to conjure a smile. "Merely fatigued." Lily regarded me intently for a moment, and I could discern the concern etched in her gaze. "Should you ever feel the need to share your thoughts, remember that I am here for you, always." "I understand," I replied, averting my gaze before she could catch a glimpse of the storm brewing within me. My gaze lingered on her for only a fleeting moment. Each time I attempted to recall it, Avery's visage emerged in place of Lily's, the recollection of that evening lingering like a specter. The subsequent days unfolded in a haze. I attempted to navigate the day-to-day, feigning a sense of normalcy, yet within me, chaos reigned supreme. My thoughts perpetually drifted back to Chicago, to the liaison that had sullied all I once cherished. At the office, the situation was equally dismal. Avery and I traded only the most formal of niceties, yet the palpable tension that lingered in the air was almost suffocating. Each time our paths intertwined, an undeniable sensation washed over me, as if we were teetering on the brink of something profound. I found it impossible to gaze upon her without recalling the ease with which I had forsaken all that I believed in. And then there was Lily, ever so attentive, perpetually inquiring about my day, meticulously planning our weekends, preparing dinner just as she always did. Gratitude should have filled my heart, yet my mind was consumed by the nagging thought that I was unworthy of any of it. It felt as though I was donning a mask, one that became increasingly burdensome with every day that went by. The grin I forced upon my lips grew increasingly taut, the feigned excitement in my tone a mere shadow of the person I once was. The burden of deception was unbearable, yet the thought of revealing the truth eluded me. What should I express? How could I gaze into her eyes and reveal the truth? How could I bring ruin to all that we had created? Yet, that was merely the beginning. Avery began to send me messages. Initially, it seemed innocuous, merely a handful of work-related messages, brief updates regarding meetings or logistical details. Yet, in an unexpected turn, everything shifted. Her messages took on a more intimate, playful tone. She would dispatch an array of whimsical memes or nonsensical texts, all in an effort to sustain the flow of our dialogue. I reassured myself that it was innocuous, merely her attempt to return to a semblance of normalcy, yet beneath the surface, I understood the truth, it was anything but. She continued to push, relentlessly probing the limits, and I, naively, allow her the freedom. With each message exchanged, I felt myself gradually descending into that shadowy abyss once more. The tension between us was palpable once more, the magnetic pull I had previously fought against now looming, ready to engulf me. Yet with each reply, the weight of my guilt seemed to grow heavier. I sensed that I was excavating a chasm for myself, one from which I might never emerge. As dusk settled, Lily and I found ourselves nestled on the couch, the soft glow of a movie flickering in the background after dinner. She leaned her head against my shoulder, her warmth enveloping me, a soothing presence that felt all too familiar. Yet my attention drifted away from the film. My mind was consumed by Avery's final message, the subtle suggestion of something deeper, something that transcended mere professional boundaries. Lily adjusted her position, casting a fleeting glance in my direction. "What seems to be the matter?" she inquired, her tone gentle, filled with worry. "Nothing," I responded hastily, perhaps too hastily. I summoned a smile. "Simply weary?" Her brow furrowed as her fingers lightly grazed against my own. "I understand you more deeply than that. It seems you've been absent for several days now. Is there something happening at work?" I gazed down at her, a wave of guilt looming over me, ready to engulf my very being. In that fleeting instant, I felt an overwhelming urge to reveal the truth, to lay bare all that had been concealed. Yet, the words remained elusive. I assured her I was fine, genuinely hoping she wouldn't detect the slight quiver in my voice. She nodded, yet the uncertainty flickered in her gaze. "All right," she murmured softly, drawing nearer to me. "Should you ever feel inclined to converse?" "I understand," I murmured, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "I understand." As I cradled her in my embrace, the burden of reality bore down on me with an intensity one had never experienced before. The days that followed that evening seemed to stretch into an infinite loop of feigned normalcy. I maintained the facade with Lily, offering smiles at the appropriate moments, laughing when the occasion demanded it, yet within, I felt an emptiness. Every moment spent in her presence served as a harsh reminder of all that I had shattered, and the burden of guilt grew more oppressive with each ticking second. At the office, Avery and I upheld our polished exterior, yet underneath, the tension lingered, quietly brewing. Her messages arrived with increasing regularity, each imbued with deeper significance than the one preceding it. Still, I reassured myself that I held the reins, that I could step back before anything further unfolded. Uncertainty loomed over me, casting shadows on the facade I had so carefully maintained. It wasn't merely Avery's messages that lingered in my mind. It was the steadfast trust that Lily placed in me. She was a constant presence, ever ready with her support and affection, blissfully unaware of the profound betrayal I had inflicted upon her. The guilt clawed at my core, consuming me from within. As I descended deeper into the intricate web of deceit I had woven, the mere idea of confessing sent shivers down my spine. What should I express? How could I possibly articulate the actions I had taken? I had shattered her faith in me, fractured something so precious, and there was no way to mend it. Yet, the burden of the deception was insufferable. One evening, not long after I had last deceived Lily, everything reached a boiling point. The night was hushed, a stillness enveloping the house, an emptiness lingering in the air, despite her presence beside me. We had just concluded our dinner, and she nestled comfortably on the couch, engrossed in a book, while I idly flicked through the channels on the television. As I attempted to immerse myself in the unfolding drama of the show, my mind continually wandered back to the text message Avery had sent earlier that day. The words reverberated within me, and the weight of guilt was overwhelming. The walls of our home seemed to constrict around me, the atmosphere heavy with the weight of my own deceit. At long last, I reached my breaking point. "Lily," I uttered, my voice trembling. She lifted her gaze from the pages, a subtle crease forming on her brow. "Indeed. I need to talk to you about something," I said, my heart pounding. Her expression transformed at once, a hint of worry dancing across her features. "Certainly. What seems to be the matter?" With a deep breath, I sought to calm my racing heart, fully aware that there was no simple way to express what needed to be said. The truth remains unyielding, no matter how one might wish to soften its impact. "I have committed an unforgivable act," I began, my voice scarcely rising above a murmur. Lily set the book aside and leaned in, her hand gently placed on my knee. "Could you clarify what you mean?" she inquired softly. Her warmth enveloped me, yet the chill within remained inescapable. "I have been unfaithful," I admitted, my throat constricting under the burden of the revelation. Her complexion drained of color, and she recoiled a fraction as though my words had landed a tangible blow. The astonishment in her eyes was unmistakable, a profound sense of disbelief etched across her face. "Olivia," she murmured as though my words had not quite registered with her. My voice trembled as I hurriedly uttered, "I'm so sorry. It was never my intention for things to unfold this way, yet here we are. I betrayed you, Lily." In the company of Avery, the ensuing silence was suffocating. Lily simply gazed at me, her eyes large and unblinking, her lips quivering as though the right words eluded her grasp. I longed to connect, to reclaim what was lost, to mend the fractures I had caused, yet I found myself unable to do so. I found myself confronting the repercussions of my choices. "I am acutely aware that I have shattered it all," I continued, my voice trembling with emotion. "Your forgiveness may be beyond what I deserve, yet I felt compelled to share this with you. The truth can no longer remain shrouded in deception." Lily remained silent for an extended period. She remained seated, her gaze fixed upon me as though she were attempting to unravel the meaning of my words. Her expression conveyed a profound blend of anguish and incredulity, a sight that was almost too much to endure. I had wounded her in a manner that was irrevocable. At last, she rose to her feet, moving a short distance away from me. I don't know what to say, Olivia," she murmured, her voice quivering. "I do not. I find myself at a loss regarding this matter." I rose as well, yearning to close the distance that lay between us. "Lily, I implore you. I sincerely apologize. My intentions were never to cause you pain. I never imagined I would find myself in a situation like this. Yet I did, and there is no turning back. My only recourse is to seek your forgiveness." She shook her head, her back to me as she stood by the window, gazing into the abyss of darkness beyond. "How could you do such a thing?" she inquired, her voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "How could you deceive me in such a manner? After all that we've endured together?" "I have no excuse," I admitted, my voice trembling. "No justification exists that could suffice. I committed a grave error. I apologize. My intentions were never to cause you pain, Lily. You mean the world to me. I understand that I've caused irreparable damage, yet I want you to remember that my love for you has never wavered." She turned then, her gaze brimming with unshed tears. "It seems you may not grasp the situation, do you?" she murmured softly. "It transcends mere infidelity. It is the deception. I placed my trust in you completely, offering my heart and my very existence. And you." Her voice trembled and she brushed away the tears from her eyes. "You broke that apart." I extended my hand toward her, yet she recoiled, a gentle shake of her head signaling her refusal. "Keep your hands to yourself, Olivia. You've become a stranger to me." The words struck me with the force of a gut-wrenching blow. She was indeed correct. I had broken it all apart. The life we had constructed, the trust we had nurtured, it was all lost. Apologies escaped my lips once more, my voice strained and rough. "I do not anticipate your forgiveness. I hardly feel worthy of it. However, I am prepared to go to any lengths to resolve this, if you permit me to do so." Lily remained silent. She remained motionless, her shoulders trembling as she fought to suppress the tears. A profound sense of helplessness enveloped me. I bore the weight of my mistake, fully aware that the harm I had caused was irreparable. At long last, after what seemed like an endless stretch of time, she finally uttered a word, her voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "I require a moment, Olivia. Forgiveness eludes me at the moment, yet I find myself in need of time to unravel my thoughts on this matter." I nodded, my heart shattering as the weight of my destruction settled in. "It will grant you all the time you require," I murmured softly. "Yet, I implore you, hold on to hope for us." She remained silent. She averted her gaze, her steps measured as she made her way toward the stairs. I remained rooted in place, observing her departure, the burden of my choices heavy upon my shoulders. I had forsaken the woman I cherished, and now I was left to bear the weight of my actions. Uncertainty loomed over what might unfold next. Uncertainty loomed over me, casting a shadow on the possibility of Lily ever finding it in her heart to forgive me, or to place her trust in me once more. All I understood was that I had shattered something invaluable, and it was my responsibility to determine whether I could mend it, if such a feat were even achievable. Yet, one truth stood unwavering. I had grasped the most challenging lesson of my existence. Truth, regardless of its discomfort, inevitably reveals itself. The price of betrayal is one that can never be fully settled. Thank you for subscribing. Your support enables me to craft even more videos. Prioritize your well-being. Please leave your feelings below in the comments section. I will feel it. Thank you very much.